We're going to do a little dance.
We can do a little dance to no music because I've got to figure out what music I'm allowed to play now because I need to be careful that now we're getting bigger. I need to be careful not to commercial music. So I'm going to purchase some audio files for us at some point. We're going to find out which ones work best.
Oh, that's a good.
Yeah. Hello, rebels and rule breakers.
Hi.
This is Ali.
Hi, everyone.
Doing our Rebel Role Model interview. It feels like ages since I've done one of these, actually. It has actually been a while. I'm very happy to be back doing this. I'm very happy that it's with you, Ali.
I'm very happy to be here. It's lovely to be invited. Thank you for having me.
Hey, you're welcome. I was very happy when your name came out at Fishbowl. Lottery, the Rebel Lottery. We've got MK on as always, our loyal MK, and she's given us an oi as always. All right, MK.
Hi, MK.
MK's traditional greeting now is oi oi. I don't think I've ever done a live where MK hasn't been the first one in here, so thank you for that, MK, my love.
Awesome.
So here we are. Guys, this is Ali. Let me introduce you to Ali. So we have known each other for a long time, haven't we?
We have. I was thinking about this actually. I was trying to tot it up into my head, thinking how long have we actually known each other for? And I think, Emma, it's coming up to about 13 years. Something like that. I know, isn't that crazy? No, it's more actually. It's just over 15. Yeah, that is bonkers, isn't it? 15 years.
So I left O2 in 09.
Yeah, that's when I left.
Is that when you did that
left at the same time?
Yeah, so we had that big raft of voluntary redundancies, didn't we?
I missed out on that bit though. I just missed out on it. I'm gutted. Yeah, absolutely. But no, I think left before that happened. But yeah, that's where we met, was at O2. 15 years ago.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm saying it like that, but they were some good old times, weren't they? We had some right crazy times.
Do you know what? It really was, and I think that was probably the start of my career, which I know we'll get into in a minute. But yeah, that I've never really found anything like that since. I think we were saying that a few weeks ago, and it was just a really good group of people, and I married one of them, so it must have been all right. So yeah. It was happy.
Yeah, I was trying to remember the other day what your maiden name is. I can't remember now.
It was Hardman.
Of course it was.
Hardman, yeah. And it became an Archbold.
Hang on, door's ringing. I've got to get up
the door. Are you expecting something?
My legs like the Queen because I'm cold. Hang on.
You look nice and cozy, Hello. Let's see when she comes back. There goes Percy.
Oh my God!
What have you had delivered?
I have no idea.
I just heard you say, "Chuck it at me."
Probably something very boring, but that's really typical, isn't it? Because there's instructions for them to not ring the bell. There's instructions to get in the building and put the parcel right there at the door, but hey, never mind. And then Percy tries to attack him as well, so he just chucks it through the door.
I just heard you say, "Chuck it at me." Right.
While I think about it, guys, if you are on watching this right now live, we can't see who you are unless you give StreamYard permission on your profile, which I can see Zoe. Oh, Zoe's on here from back in the day as well. I can see two of you have got your permissions on, but there's some others who are live that I can't see yet. So you need to tell us who you are if you comment, and please do comment on questions as we go along. So as we were saying, Ali, apologies for that. So
that's all right.
So yeah, it was a long time ago, and we had a very good foundation there at O2, didn't we? So we were both in the learning and development department.
Yeah.
And for me, that was the beginning of my career in helping others to grow.
Mm.
And, you know, that was starting me on my journey to find my purpose. And I'm assuming it's sort of fairly similar for you as well, isn't it?
Do you know, absolutely. I think I have an accidental career in L&D, which is how I refer to it, because I thought I was destined to be a primary school teacher. So that's why I came to Leeds. So I'm originally from Manchester, and I came over to study primary teaching, so thinking that's the field I wanted to go in. And it was I fell into L&D by accident whilst looking for a teaching job, and it was the lovely Kerry Dolby that gave me a job in L&D admin. And it was there that she said, have you ever thought about, you know, internal training? And at that time, I didn't even know that stuff existed. I didn't know, you know, I was very new to the corporate world. But I'm so glad she did, because I think that's the point, like you said there, that just, well, it changed my life. It introduced me to so many new things, and really reinforced that need to want to help others and help them be the best version of themselves. And yeah, whilst it was an accidental move, it was definitely the right one, and that's just been where my career's gone ever since, really. So it's massive thanks to Mrs. Dolby for taking the chance on me there.
Gosh, yeah. You know, I've always said a similar thing, that, you know, I think you sort of do fall into L&D, don't you, accidentally? I always thought that about me as well, because that was never what I really planned to do. But yeah, Kerry, gosh. Yeah, I think Kerry's in the group. I need to double check and we'll tag her in on this. But yeah.
Oh, definitely, yeah, we'll have to.
Kerry. So yeah, she's a good lass.
Good egg.
So, what a journey, eh? And skip to many years later, and here we are, both kind of figuring out what the next version of that is.
Yeah, that's totally true. That's exactly where I am, Emma. So I was thinking about what I'm going to talk to you about today and what I'm going to say. And the thing that kept coming back to me was that I do believe people come back into your life for a reason. And I definitely think you landed with me at absolutely the right time. So it's probably, even though we've been in touch over Facebook and things like that, I think it was late last year on LinkedIn, and I just saw a post from you, and I think it's how you described yourself as a bad influence. And I thought, I need a bad influence in my life, because I was at, and still am, but not for too much longer, hopefully, at that point where really thinking about just breaking free, working for myself, doing actually something that I really want to do and that inspires me and that I feel really passionate about. And I'm not getting that where I am right now. So I'm a learning consultant, so still within L&D, but in terms of where I really want to help people, it's not giving me that opportunity. And I just think, what else is it going to take for me to actually make that leap and give it a go? Because I'm never going to know. You know, I turned 40 in January, and I just think, what else is it going to take for me to actually feel brave enough to do it? And I just think, well, I just need to kind of just do it, and then hope it works out and learn along the way. This is it.
Yeah, you are so right. I think it's very, very easy, particularly if you're in a secure job.
Yeah.
You know, I always say that loosely. And like, you know, you've got two kids, they're both young, school age. You know, you've got a family around you, you've got to think about them. It's very, very easy to think, I'll do it one day. You know, the stars the planets have to align. I have to get this in place, that in place. I'll do it when all of this stuff perfectly happens. And, you know, circumstances are such that it's, you know, and I suppose it's a bit like, you know, having a baby, in the sense that, you know, there's never a perfectly aligned time to bring a child into your life, and there's never a perfectly aligned time for, you know, for a business to be successful. The only thing that's going to make a difference is your mindset and your attitude. And Zoe's do it, I can highly recommend it.
I've just seen it. Hi, Zoe. Oh, one of the 2 days as well. I think you're spot on, and honestly, like I'm huge on personal development, and you know, through that journey and from O2, that's where I discovered coaching and qualified in the coaching field, which is what I absolutely love to do. You know, that is really my passion. But I have spent, if I can be totally honest here, when was Emily born? 2014. So yeah, coming up to probably 8 years, probably 9 years actually, if I think about when it all started, feeling stuck and spending 9 years gathering all this knowledge of, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I need to think and everything, and just basically being a great hoarder of all this knowledge and not actually doing anything with it. And that's what I need to do, is to think about, okay, well, how do I then get what I want to do out into the world and start doing what I really want to enjoy, and what I feel my purpose is as well. That I think over the last 12 months with the pandemic, homeschooling and all that stuff, which we've all been there, it's really made me take a look at my life and think about what I want from it and how I want to move through my day. And I've recognised that actually I'm not going to find anything out unless I actually take action and go and do it. So that's my plan.
So brave. I love it. This is absolutely the right attitude.
I've not done it yet, Emma, but I'm planning on doing it.
You're really seriously making moves. Since we first started talking about this, your the way you talk about this has shifted forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think one of the things that really makes a difference for people is thinking about, like you said, when is the right time then? How long do I wait to do what I need to do for me? And I think something I always say, for a lot of the people I work with have young families as well. And, it's quite easy to kind of say, well, I need to provide a secure income for my family. But also, you've got to remember that your kids, you're setting an example for your kids here. And the younger people of the world are it's a non-negotiable to younger folk these days to be happy, to find a job. Like, I'm not going to do a job that I don't enjoy. I'm going to find a career that I'm really happy with. That just seems like a thing that's a given now. But perhaps for our generation, that's not so easy to get our heads around.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think, that I speak to my mum and dad about these things, and, just family and friends, and I think some of them, we're not in that place where we have a job for life anymore. Years ago, like my mum and dad's generation, it was you did one job and you stayed with that company forever. And I think you've hit on something there. For the younger generation, you're right, it's non-negotiable to be happy. That's just how it should be, and rightly so. And I think, what did I hear that really shifted my mindset around this whole working and not enjoying it? I think it was something along the lines of, you trade a day of your life doing a job, so make it something that you love, or words to that effect, but you get the feeling behind it. And I thought, what, God, that is so true, because I think, life it moves fast, and I want to spend it doing something that feels like I'm making a difference and feels worthwhile as well. And hugely important. And I'm glad that the younger generation are not thinking that happiness isn't negotiable, because it shouldn't be. And that's the exact example I want to set to my Emily and Max. Follow your dreams, do what you love.
And it's kind of being almost a beam of light for people, isn't it? Like you said, you're a hoarder of knowledge now, and the reason you've acquired all that skill and experience and knowledge and wisdom, and that is to light the way for other people. That's really important. You've not been given pathway you've got just to do nothing with it. I strongly believe that we're given that that journey for a reason, and to have to add value in the world. But then you get this whole inner voice that goes, should we do this? Is this the right time? Am I worthy? Are people going to pay me? Am I really that good? Can I do the imposter syndrome? Or as our lovely friend Rachel put it this morning, the inner critic. So I spoke to Rachel earlier today about the little voice in your mind that tells you can't do something to try and keep you safe. Do you have that little voice, Ali?
Loud and clear, Emma. I have that little voice. It doesn't feel so little at times, and I've got better. I'll be honest, I've got better with it. But I guess probably, like, I know one of the questions we were looking at is, what type of rebel are you, or what are you? How do you see yourself as a rebel? And I've never thought of myself as a rebel, if I'm honest. I've always kind of played it a bit safe. But I thought about this and I thought, well, what do I feel I'm rebelling against? Because I am in this group for a reason. And it's almost like I'm rebelling against my old self-image. So how I used to think about myself, how the thoughts, feelings and beliefs I held about myself growing up and in the world of work. and that imposter as well. I mean, that's always been there, but I'm starting to rebel against that old image and create a new one that serves me and doesn't sabotage me, because we can be our own worst critic and our own worst enemy, can't we? You know, and I think if you think of the things that you can tell yourself when that inner critic sets in, if someone else was saying that to you, would you accept it? Probably not. So why do we accept it from ourselves when we're saying it? It just, you know, it seems madness, but we do it unconsciously. We really do.
And you know, that self-sabotage thing is so fascinating. You know, what qualifies us to be who we are, you know, nothing but the fact that we are who we are. And I love that concept of rebelling against your own, well, how did you put it? Your perception.
My old self-image. So self-concept, self-image. Like, I think I've become a bit obsessed with the whole self-image thing, because I just know how it's held me back. That is absolutely what's been the blocker. So like I said before, you know, I can hoard all the knowledge, and I've got the books. I mean, God, you want to see my bookcase. Amazon deliveries have been on overdrive in lockdown. I've got every self-help book going, but seriously, it's like, I'm not going to find the answer in that. The answer is within me. And that's not, I don't mean that to sound arrogant in any way at all. It's a realization, but it's taken me a long time to get there. And I think I've done a lot of development work this last 12 months on discovering more about me, and what I want, what I truly want, not what I think I should or could have, but what I absolutely want for me, and my family. And it just became clear how that old version of me was showing up, and how it was getting in the way. And I'm learning to start to shut it down and to replace it with a better self-image, and one that's going to take me forward. Now, that's not to say the old thoughts and, you know, beliefs don't creep in every now and again. Of course they do, because, you know, I'm trying to undo 40 years of programming here. It's going to take a bit of time. It's not going to be, you know, overnight, but I'm totally committed to that, because I think if I didn't do it, I'd just always regret it. You know, I think that's something that's really pulled out to me in these last 12 months, particularly, is that I don't want to have any regrets. I don't want to think that I should have done something. I'd rather just do it and learn from it than not do it at all. And that is a massive shift for me in the way I'm talking and the way I'm thinking. But
that's amazing.
Yeah,
I just love it so much. And you know, what you said about having a bookshelf full of books, you know, a bookcase full of books, you know, how you can't measure being ready on how many books you read, can you? You know, when I've read some more books, I'll be ready. Like, it just like that, does it? And actually, whilst it's also great to get qualified in some of these things that we want to do, that doesn't necessarily make us ready either. Yeah, it might give us the knowledge and the backup, and in some cases the legal standing that we require. Actually, it all comes down to mindset, doesn't it? And that's huge. So what work specifically have you been doing to kind of rebel against this self-image? What's some of the specific things that you can share with us that maybe other people would be able to try?
Well, I think there's been a few things. I think noticing your old programming, so noticing just where that's showing up, and just having that level of awareness of thinking about what stories am I telling myself, so, and just being really clear on them and writing them down, and then writing the opposite of that. That works really well for me, is just to get them out my head and somewhere else, and then I can start to think about, well, do I want to think that, or do I want to think something else, and just trying to replace it with that. And it's the repetition of it. So something that I do each day is life scripting, which sounds a bit woo-woo, I know. And when I first came across it, I was like, really? I loved it. I love it. I just get to write about how I would want my life to, how I want my life to be, and how I want to show up in that, and how I think and feel about myself and where I'm going. And it's hugely powerful. And I've noticed since I started doing that how that's shifted as well, and how at the beginning I was probably still playing small, and not really thinking about what could be possible, and going for what I truly want to do, which is this whole breaking free and being my own boss. So the live scripting's definitely worked. I think surrounding yourself with like-minded people is huge, which is why groups like this are just fab, because you get that and people get what you're on about, and that's really important to me. And you feed off each other's energy as well, and I just love that. So that sense of community. And I think just choosing, making a conscious choice just to say no to the thoughts you don't want and questioning them as well. So a huge bit about self-awareness. So that's what I'd say. Write it down, live script, surround yourself with like-minded people.
Oh, I love that. I talk quite a lot about changing your environment, and some of that is your internal environment.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Becoming aware and saying no to those thoughts that you're talking about, but also it's your environment of who you surround yourself with, but also what you consume as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's what, and again, another learning for me is I don't personally watch the news.
Yeah.
I don't engage in it because I'm aware of how that could make me feel, and I just choose not to engage in it. And it's interesting when I'm with family, and because of everything that's gone on this last 12 months with COVID, it's all we talk about. And I don't kind of want to be around that. Not to say that I don't want to see them, of course, but just that level of talk and that it just doesn't make me feel good. So it's just making little choices like that to choose what I pay attention to, I guess.
No, I'm the same. I stopped watching the news many years ago, and you know, kind of concept of changing the environment. The guys in the group who are the EMF Niners, they'll know what all that means. Yeah, this is a Peter Sage mentoring thing that we do. So he talks a lot about this kind of stuff, and you know, for me, I mean, I'll be honest, I have no idea what the alleged roadmap to freedom is right now. I don't know what the key points are. I believe there's something in there about the 12th of April. I know at one point we're allowed to sit on a bench and drink a coffee, but I don't know what it is.
No, do you know what? I couldn't tell you either. I know the 21st of June is when the pubs open. I think that's etched in my mind a little bit more. But everything else, I don't know. But I trust that I'll find out. And that's okay. I don't need to consume myself with it. I'd rather pay attention to just other things that make me feel good.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
What you do need to know just find its way to you somehow. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So just going back to the inner critic thing, because I think this is a really interesting topic. So when Rachel and I were discussing this earlier today on phone, we talked about how to sort of nurture your inner critic a little bit, because what I've noticed about that little voice that, you know, sort of yells at you and tells you can't do stuff is that there's a positive intention behind that force, that it's trying to protect you and keep you safe, and it's trying to stop you from failing or from putting yourself in emotional danger and so on. So that's the purpose of it. So it occurs to me that actually if we give that little inner voice a bit of love and a bit of reassurance, that's possibly more helpful than trying to force it away. You know, trying to wrangle it or wrestle it, because, you know, it's a bit like trying to wrestle something that's, you know, invisible, isn't it? It's just not gonna have any benefit.
It's not gonna happen. No, I think, you know, that's so true as that. And I think, was it the Chimp Paradox or something, talks a little bit about this, about how they call it the chimp, but it's the same thing, that inner critic. It's designed to keep you safe. But by acknowledging it and just giving that reassurance and, like you say, that little bit of love, and almost having a dialogue with it, saying, no, it's all right, I'm fine, and calming it down is really quite useful. Because, like you say, I love the fact there that you said it's got a positive intent behind it. I've never thought of it in that way before, but you're absolutely spot on. And it's funny, actually, because when you said that, if you try and push it away, it's going to come back even stronger. And I think that's like our thoughts, isn't it? I know Emily was a bit upset the other night. That's my 7-year-old, because I think she's at that stage where she's realizing that, you know, things die, and, you know, we're not immortal and all of that, and it's starting to hit her, and she's getting quite anxious around it, and she got a bit upset about it. And I said to her, I said, well, you know, I got her to acknowledge it, because I thought if I said, oh no, don't be silly, you know, forget about it, it's not really dealing with it. And I wanted to know it's fine to have thoughts like that, because that's normal. So we said, I said, well, you've acknowledged it, and we talked about it, and I said, just think of it like a cloud, like your thoughts like a cloud, and it will pass, and then replace it with another one. And it just helped her, because it's like, okay, I've thought about that. I've not tried to push it away. It doesn't feel too scary anymore, and I can move on and think about something else. And she went to sleep afterwards. So yeah, there's definitely something there about not trying to shut it down, but acknowledging it and working with it, I guess.
I agree. It's we all have our different ways of doing it as well, don't we? I sometimes see that inner critic, or that chimp or whatever, is almost like a little version of me, like a little girl version of me.
Yeah.
And I just sort of need to give her a bit of a hug and say, it's all right, don't worry, I've got this, it'll be okay. Rachel was saying she's got like a little teddy bear called Frank that could represent her inner voice. And then we've got Steve, little Stevie's little puppet.
I love that. I need to give mine a name.
Yeah, and I think sometimes you personify it, it helps you talk to it better. I know that sounds mad, but it's true. And I think particularly with, like Emily, for example, that there's some strong life lessons in there that don't do well to be ignored. And we all have those, no matter whether you're 7, 47, 77, we all have those things, don't we, that we need to, keep learning and keep understanding and staying aware of.
But it's a gift in a way as well. I mean, that's the other way you could think about it, because we do, like I say, it's designed to keep us safe, isn't it? And we need that. But I think you can see it as a gift, because if you're aware of it, you can choose to change it and manage it better. And like I say, that's a life skill. So it's got its purpose.
So I loved what you said before about you didn't think you were a rebel necessarily, and then you've realised that there's elements of you that you're kind of, there's old, perhaps versions of you that you're trying to rebel against. And I think this is one of the interesting things that I've discovered about doing this whole rebels and rule breakers thing, that there's a lot of people here who perhaps wouldn't consider themselves to be rebels, perhaps realised through considering the concept that maybe they are in their own individual way. So your sort of ongoing mission, I guess, to rebel against what some of that old stuff was. How's that going to help your forward journey as regards how you then are able to serve other people?
It's a brilliant question, that and I think how I see that is, if I can work on that self-image and become, let's say, the version of me that I need to be to live the life I want to live, I've got to role model that in a way, because I think that's when I can best serve people, because I can talk from experience and I can relate to what they're going through as well. I think, but also personal growth is huge for me anyway. So it's, whilst I'm helping other people, I'm also helping myself. So I don't know, I think it's twofold. But I know from everything that I've done from my younger years and the career path I thought I was going to take and then ended up in and now want to do, that thread of wanting to help people be the best version of themselves has been there throughout. So that starts to make a lot of sense to me now. So I'm trying to use that as a basis to help me move forward, so that it's in alignment with that purpose. And I think just by being aware of my own self-image, what's holding me back, and overcoming that, I can hopefully help other people to do the same as well if they're in a similar situation.
That's so valuable. I mean, I keep saying the word journey. I know it's a bit cheesy, but I'm just going to not apologise for it for a change. But my kind of journey to get where I am now has been by no means pain-free.
Wow.
And, it is a struggle. And I often have, when I'm right in the depths of it, one of the things that really helps me, hi Cheryl, is to kind of sit there and think, this is happening for me. This is happening for me. And it's also happening for other people. Because if I was... So, I'm coaching people to get out of the corporate sludge and into a free-range life, or to rebel in general. Know the pain of that. How the heck am I going to help other people do that? You know, I have to really,
Absolutely.
like, to the nth degree, I have to really get down and dirty with that and really get into the shadows of it, because I can't empathise with people otherwise.
Absolutely. That's so true.
Zoe's put in some a good comment here about, she calls it inner critic. She calls him Mr. Niggles.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I see him as a mischievous little creature playing around. Sometimes I can let him play. Sometimes I need to gag him. I find way of having a relationship with it/him, rather than seeing it as an issue or something that is wrong. I love that.
I love that. Do you know what? That's something that when I used to coach kids around like mindset and things, where we talked about the gremlin and shrinking that and giving it a name and almost taking control of it. It's the same sort of concept, isn't it? You give it a name and you start to be friends with it, so it doesn't feel so scary anymore. It's hugely powerful. I love it. I need to give mine a name.
Yeah, why don't we do that more often, to apply those principles that we would talk to children about into our adult lives? Because we're not that much different, you know. This is something Rachel will definitely resonate with, a kind of like playology thing, with sort of helping adults to play more. These are concepts that really work for us at any age, I think, aren't they?
I think so, definitely. And we forget, with kids, they're curious, aren't they? They are rebels in their own right, because they just go and do it. They don't always think twice, unlike my Max's case anyway. And they can learn a lot from them. And it's almost like we have to relearn that, to be curious, to take risks, to play. That's so important. I love, Rachel, I love the sound of what you're doing there with playology. I want to learn more about that.
Everybody, look for playology on Facebook, and
I will, definitely going to look for that. But yeah, and it's that's so important, isn't it? We almost forget to do that, to be free spirits, to actually go for what we want, because you go to school and then you've got to conform and do all of that. And yeah, we can learn a lot from kids. Definitely their honesty as well.
Ali, because I found myself saying a lot lately that we, sometimes we think we're here to teach children, and actually it's the other way around, I believe.
Completely agree.
And you look at your Max and Emily. So Max is 4, right? And Emily's
7. 4. Yeah, and that's right.
At that age, kids just do rebellion naturally, don't they?
Oh, completely. I mean, Max, they're chalk and cheese, honestly. Like, Emily's quite quiet, reserved. Max, he's full of mischief. The cheekiest little boy I've ever met. But I admire his spirit. He's fiery. They're very, very different. You never get two the same. But I learn a lot from them, because he's very confident. He's got confidence that I never had at 4 years old, and that's going to take him through his whole life. He will speak to anyone. Emily, not so much. Emily's probably more like I was, and I recognise that in it. And I'm trying to think about what would I say to my younger self? What would I say to 7-year-old me? Because I see a lot of me in her, just so that she doesn't have to go through that struggle, probably that I experienced growing up, of a lack of confidence, not saying what I truly felt, not being who I wanted to be. And I really, really want that for her. And I think with Max, he's already got it. It was just amazing taking him into school this week, and he's talking to everyone. I thought, I've never have done that before. And it's just wonderful. It is. And you're right, you can absolutely learn a lot from kids. They teach me all sorts. And they tell the truth as well.
Yeah, they do.
They do tell the truth.
They really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cheryl's referenced the googly eyes. So in Rebel Yell, we're all about the googly eyes right now, aren't we? Stick googly eyes onto everything. Childlike thing to do. It's so funny. Cheryl's also saying that she's got 2 rebels. 2 rebels.
I love that.
Yeah, lots to learn from those children around us, definitely. So what that big bookcase you've got of all those good books that we talked about? Got any good references for us? Some good real clues that you think would help us with some of this stuff?
Oh God, there's loads of different ones. Actually, do you know what? One I've been reading recently, which is really, I just love it, and it's called. So anyone that's heard of Jen Sincero, she does the "You're a Badass" series, but she's got Badass Habits, and that one is just brilliant, honestly. And it gives you a plan of creating, better habits for yourself over 30 days. But just the way she talks about it, it makes so much sense. She's a bit sweary, which I do like in a book, and she's real. You just you know it's her. It's not somebody else speaking on behalf. It's her. So I'd say Badass Habits. What other ones have I got? There's the other one that's always stayed with me is by Mel Robbins, which is the 5-second rule. So this is all about getting stuff done. You might have come across it, and it's the simplest thing. It's based.
LinkedIn, actually, she's cool.
She's really cool, actually, and again, she's real, and yeah, like her a lot. So that's a good one.
She showed vulnerability, didn't she? Which I like. You know.
Yeah, she does. She does a lot around that, and she just shares a story about how she was, you know, wasn't in a good place at all. She was drinking too much. You know, the career was going down the chute. And then she just implemented this 5-second rule where she counts down from 5 to 1 and then takes action and does it. And it's honestly, it sounds ridiculous, but it's the simplest thing, but it makes the biggest difference when you apply it. So I would definitely recommend that and Badass Habits.
Badass Habits, the 5-second rule. Tell me more about this 5-second rule thing. So I've not encountered that yet. That sounds pretty cool. So this is like for procrastinators and people who are living in fear a little bit.
That's exactly what it is. So she said, I mean, you'll read the book, but she was watching TV one night on a second bottle of wine or something, and there was a rocket launch on TV. So, you know, it counts down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. And the next morning she woke up and she was going to press snooze on her alarm clock, but she didn't. Instead, she counted down from 5 to 0 and just shot out of bed. So she physically moved into action. And what she said was, it was at that point that she realized, okay, I don't like this. It doesn't feel good because this feels weird. You know, I should be in bed snoozing, but actually I'm up now, so I need to do something. And it was that turning point in her life, and she applied it to everything, and it works. But one thing I loved that she said is that it is about getting stuff done. But she said, sometimes you're never going to feel like it. And I thought, that's so true, isn't it? You know, that there's things that we do that we put off and we think, oh God, I'm never going to feel like it. But we also never regret it when we've done it either. We're always pleased that we have taken action and that we've done it. And I just think it's such a simple thing. But what she says is you've got to move into action and physically act before your brain, that inner critic, steps in and starts talking you out of it, because that will happen. So it's trying to override that and almost not giving you a chance to get out of it. And I just love it. It's definitely a good one. Yeah, and it's just easy.
Do more of that for sure. Yeah. I think that sounds like that could be really helpful for me right now.
It's a good one.
So what? This is a you know, sort of probably quite a big question really, but what right now do you think is the biggest challenge for you to stop you stepping into this bright, shiny version that's been waiting in the wings of Ali Archbold?
What's the thing that's going to stop me and get in the way?
Biggest challenge for you right now?
The biggest challenge for me is probably going to be, how do I put this? I'm just doing it, if I'm honest. I mean, and I know I'm going to do it, but it's that persevering even when it gets a bit tough, because I know I'm probably going to hit the terror barrier throughout this, because it's a massive thing. I've always had a job. I feel nervous even saying it now, because it's almost like I'm putting it out there, so I've got to do it. It's real because you guys will hold me to account, which is what I want. But it is scary, because I think, oh shit, you know, where's the money going to come from? And it will, and it'll happen. But my biggest challenge is probably just trusting in it and just persevering and not thinking, right, crap, I need to go out and get a job, and going back to the old life, because I could quite easily do that. And I thought about this, and I thought, if I was to choose another job, would I still go into the L&D world? And it's not as it is right now. So I know that I need to make that shift, and I know I need to do something different.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just that continuing on the journey and trusting that it's going to go well.
Wow. MK saying, oh yes, we will hold you to account. And they're also,
thank you.
As you said about the trust, they also said trust in yourself and your ability at the same time. That's
time. That's really good to hear.
Right. I think, you know, it's that you talk about that terror zone or the terror barrier, I think you put it, you know, one of the things that I find really interesting is that when you do the thing you are meant to do, it is shit scary.
Yeah,
it is.
totally.
And if it wasn't, you're not meant to be doing it.
Yeah.
There's a difference between fear because you want it so much and you're frightened of failing, and the fear or dread of going back into a job that you know makes you miserable. It's a very different feeling.
Yeah.
You know, and this is one of the things I'm trying to teach the world, I guess, is that just because something's frightening doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. But it's tuning into what kind of fear is this? Is it fear or is it dread? You know, if it's dread, then stay run very far away. If it's fear because you want it, then
and that's what it is. It's definitely not dread. Because I've been here before, but I just know I feel differently this time. I feel very different this time. There's a few things that have contributed to that. I think, you know, just we're in a better place with the kids. They're both at full-time school now, so there's a few things that have just aligned that are enabling me to making that shift a little bit easier. But also, I think the driving force for me right now is if I didn't do it, I'm gonna look back and really regret it. And that's worse, you know, if it all goes tits up, then I'll go out and get another job, but I'm hoping it doesn't, you know. I think it's definitely fear, but coming from an excited place as well. That excitement is absolutely there.
It's a great feeling to have. I know it's gives you a certain amount of turbulence, I guess, or turmoil, but it is, you know, it makes you feel alive, you know.
It does. Do you know what? It really does. And I just noticed something that's always said there about part-time opportunity. And yeah, that's absolutely an option. So I'm certainly not thinking I'm just going to whip the net away and you know, that's it. I've got nothing coming in. I've got a couple of other things that will help with that, but and that'll tide me over it in some respects, but it'll just give me that freedom and that time to focus on my thing and what I want to do, which is exactly what I need and what I haven't got now. Because, you know, I work full time. I could do things on the evening, which I do, but that's taken up with other stuff. I just need some time and space to be able to start making this happen.
Exactly what I was gonna say, actually. And you know, we've got this. I always think it's interesting. We've got this kind of synergy thing that you talk about something. I'm like, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Cool, but
awesome.
That thing about the clearing the space, you know, there's MK mentioned trust before. You mentioned trust before. Part of that process is not just trusting in you and your ability, and having faith in yourself, like MK says, but it's actually trusting that you will be looked after. But part of that has to be about clearing the space. You cannot have something, you know, come into an already full, you know, place.
Completely.
And so you have to be brave enough to at least step back a little bit to clear some space, even if it's just going part-time or finding another way of making an income. If you create that space, will come into it.
Yeah, I think that's so true.
Got no room to come in, you know. It's like trying to park a car in a full car park. Impossible to do it, you know.
It's absolutely true. And I think, you know, I'm probably guilty of listening to a lot of people say, well, I manage it, or I've got 3 businesses and I managed to do all this. And I think, well, how the hell do you do that? That's just, I can't work in that way. You know, I've really learned that I need,
you know.
Yeah, I need to know I've got that space and time to be able to dedicate it, because then I've got the focus and it doesn't feel like drips and drabs. It's focused energy and it's more productive. So that's exactly what I need. And you're right. Once that space is created, then I'm able to say yes to other things.
That's
which is, you know, really good.
You know, being here all the time. You know, I can't cope with that. I must admit, I'm kind of in that mode at the moment because there's so much going on. But it's not a state I can sustain for very long.
Yeah.
So I have to ask for help, and I have to get people to do other things that I perhaps don't want to do or shouldn't be doing. Yeah. But part of being able to step into your own version of life should be that, you know, you're not constantly chasing your own tail. That maybe if this is full, maybe this is the level you operate at, so you've got some space should you need it.
Absolutely, definitely.
So yeah, it's about finding what's right for you, because you know, I know a lot of people that thrive on just being firefighters and running around all over the place. I can't deal with that for very long. I need calm and peace.
That's exactly what I need. Yeah. And like I say, there's times when I can do that, but it's not sustainable. And that's the key. It's not sustainable.
That's right.
It's got to be balanced.
And it's the same, like we say, with the headspace. If you can find something where, you know, it allows you to get a little bit of stability, then clear some emotional and some thinking energy to actually do whatever else you need to do. Really good. So, what would be your sort of what would be your biggest mindset tips and things like that? So your kind of niche, I guess. How would you describe it right now as regards who you're helping and what you?
So how I would describe that. So I would describe it as helping people to understand what they want, why they want it, and who they need to become to get it. And the reason I say all those three things is that there's definitely a goal in there, but I think purpose and self-image are key to achieving that goal. So the why for me has been so eye-opening. I've done a lot of work on myself to understand what my why is and really get down to nailing that. Because that's just made things so much easier, because I can make choices based on that, and everything feels that it's on purpose, which is just fabulous. And that's you know, really fires me up, does that. And then understanding that why, but then who you need to become to get that is all that self-image piece wrapped up. So thinking about, well, where are you right now? How do you see yourself? And what does the version of you who has your goal, what does she or he look like? What are they doing? How are they showing up in the world? And helping them make that transition so that they can, you know, live the life they want to live. So that's what I help people with, and it's what I'm studying so much for myself at the moment. I'm obsessed by it. So you know, I really want to help others with it.
I do have to get a little bit obsessed with these things sometimes.
You do.
Create an entrepreneurial business out of it. So what's the starting point then for people who particularly like what you were saying there about the, you know, what's my why? What's the starting point with that? Because that's for a lot of people, you know, perhaps not discovered their purpose, as you know, like you and I have. For a lot of people, that's a big deal to actually go from normal career life to, oh my God, I've got to now figure out why I'm here, what I'm meant to be doing. What's the starting point with that?
I mean, you're right, it is a massive thing. And I think once you've got it, like I say, everything makes so much sense. The first point is to start thinking about, okay, what standout memories have you got growing up? So it's a bit about collecting stories. So thinking about when you were growing up, any good experiences that stand out to you, any bad ones as well, but just thinking about those standout moments, those highlights, possibly lowlights, and starting to whittle it down to what are the key messages in there, why did you feel that way, and bringing it back to the feeling and trying to nail that, because what that will leave clues, and it's about piecing that together and finding those golden threads to understand and start to articulate that why. But I mean, my why is all about helping people to be the best version of themselves so that they can live the life that they want. And that bit is really key, and that's one thing that was missing from my why for a long time, because I had the statement, but I never had the outcome. I was like, okay, I want to do that. I know I want to help people. I want to help them be the best that they can be. But so what? What is that going to do for them? And it's about getting that bit really clear as well, because that will be the driving force behind it. So collect your stories, think back, sit with it for a little while as well. Don't force it. That's a really good tip there, is just let it come to you, because it will. And yeah, just start to piece it together from that, and then start to articulate it and put it into statements once you've got those key themes. So stories, themes, and then start to articulate it.
Love that. I liked what you said about the golden threads as well, because it's almost like your life lays breadcrumbs.
Yeah, totally.
Isn't it, to give you these clues?
Yeah.
Cheryl's doing a little bit of sales for me there and talking about Naomi's session that we had, masterclass that we had last week, the values of purpose one, which was superb.
Check that out.
It's really good. So those of you who aren't on Rebel Yell, you can still get that. I'm just going to shameless plug this right now. You can still get access to the masterclass if you join Rebel Yell. It's all there, stored in there. So ask me about that if you'd like to know more. So yeah, so stories, you said stories, and what was the other things?
Themes. So you look at your stories, then you look at those common themes that come through, but in terms of how you felt, you know, what did it do for you, why does it stand out, and just start to make a list of them, and then you'll start to whittle it down to the maybe like the top 3 that really stand out for you, and you'll see it, because it's really good to do with a partner and start talking through it, because they can ask you questions, and it's just the patterns start to come through. And then you just help them piece it all together, and it's just brilliant. I mean, who doesn't want to know why they're here? I just think it's so powerful, really powerful.
It's amazing how this stuff is just all there in our psyche, ready to come out. Everything we need, we've already got, you know. That's
exactly, yeah.
Which is awesome. Amazing. Here's a random question then. Who in the limelight, who that we all know in the world is, or you know, either with us or no longer with us, would you say is a great rebel?
Oh God, you know, I thought about this question, and I really struggled, Emma. But one person that just kept popping into my head, and I think it comes back to being your authentic self. So there's 2 people. There's one that's a good friend of mine, and there's probably one that in the limelight. I would say Freddie Mercury, and the reason I'd say Freddie Mercury is just because he was on a you know, he was just him, and he was brave, and there's just so much about him. But I think when I was thinking about this other person as well, she's the most truest person to her own self that, you know, I've never met anyone like her. She's so authentic. She's in everything that she does, and I just really admire it. And I'm saying that because that's something I've not been very good at for a long time, is just owning who I am and being okay with it, you know, being okay with my flaws and whatever else. And she just owns it, and it's just really good to see.
This is friends, is it?
Yeah, so this is someone, so someone who Zoe and I worked with, actually. So, and she's just fabulous. She just really, I don't know, she's just true to herself. She's just fab.
Zoe's with you with a Freddie Mercury shout as well.
Oh, yeah, it just kept coming up. I was thinking, who is it? And, you know, and it was just someone that stood out. I could also say Prince Harry. Now, I'm not, but there's a lot of controversy about that. I wouldn't say he is, you know, someone I aspire to be, but I do admire the way he's followed his own path, and he's kind of rebelled against that institution, which is absolutely massive. That's a really brave step. It's huge. So I admire that. I think, yeah, good, you know, good for you.
I did catch a video before about Piers Morgan storming off on whatever it was, when they were arguing about racism and things like that. And
the whole Meghan Markle thing. And I've not seen the actual interview that they did with Oprah, and I've not seen it, but I've heard about it, and I've heard the Piers Morgan thing. But I just think to someone who was in such a public, you know, in view of all the public and the royal family, to actually not turn your back on them, but just say, no, I want to live this life with this person. I think is massive and hugely brave. And yeah, he's always been a bit of a royal rebel, hasn't he, Harry? I think he's always been my favourite on some level. But yeah, I think it's that. If I nail down the whole rebel thing and what it means for me, it's being true to yourself and what you believe in, and sticking with that, regardless of what anyone else says.
Absolutely perfect sort of tagline, really.
I love that Cheryl said there, true ginger rebel. Yeah, my son Max is pure ginger, and he's a rebel. So I think there's something in that. There's something in the hair colours. I love it.
I must admit, so I watched the interview last night, I think it was, or something like that, and I found it very strange to watch. It was uncomfortable, and it was uncomfortable for a number of reasons, but partly because I found my feelings about it difficult. I found the fact that I was enjoying it difficult.
Yeah.
know what I mean? It was like being
I do.
stick and a bit gossipy, and I found that really hard to admit to myself that I was enjoying that. And I think it was fascinating to get their angle on it. Made me think about the whole thing differently. Does make you wonder how much of that is perception, how much of it is accurate, and all of those things.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about it morally.
Yeah.
Really weird.
It is weird, and I think I'm yet to watch it, so yeah, I'm not really sure what to make of it. I get what you're saying though about feeling uncomfortable.
It's a bit.
I'm going to watch it with an open mind and see, but
you know
say that again, sorry.
The Lady Diana one is very reminiscent of that, and you know,
yeah,
all of those kinds of things are very uncomfortable to watch.
Really uncomfortable, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Prince Harry, Royal Rebel.
Yeah, totally. Well, Ali, this has been an absolute big joy. Oh,
it's been fabulous. Thank you. I've really enjoyed it. It's been great to chat.
Thank you. Well, let's see what Cheryl's saying. The insight and how his eyes were opened. His eyes were opened. Had thought about being trapped.
Yeah.
Get on it. See what you think. Let us know what you reckon, Ali.
I will, because we're watching The Crown now. I know that's it's not based on truth, but I think there's some truth in there. And my God, I would not want to be a part of that, and not being able to be who you really are. I think not for me at all. Not that I'd ever be in the royal family, but
I mean, I found The Crown really interesting because it made me research certain things. I find the monarchy really fascinating.
Yeah.
And there was the James Corden Prince Harry interview. He said that he'd much rather the Crown than the tabloid headline, because at least the Crown doesn't, it's quite open about the fact it's fictional. So that was quite interesting. So yeah,
it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
So
I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you guys for being involved in the comments. You've been marvellous as always.
You have.
Absolutely, gives it a different edge, doesn't it? And thank you so much, Ali. That has been absolutely brilliant, and I think you've shared some really amazing wisdom. And I know we all wish you masses of luck with your breaking free into a life. You can inspire us all.
I will loop back round and tell you when I've done it. So I've got a few things I need to sort first, and then it's going to be done.
And you also have a Facebook group as well. Do we want to encourage people to join that? Do we want to highlight
Yes, that? We can. It is going to undergo a little bit of a revamp. Now I have this new focus, so it's called Your Best Self. But I'll share it with you when it's all better. And
so under refurbishment, is it? Renovation?
It's undergoing a bit of refurb, definitely.
Okay. We'll share that then when that's ready. Again, massive thank you, Ali. I think you've been really an inspiration today. I can't believe that hour's gone so quickly.
I know. It's flown. Absolutely flown.
So good.
Thank you for having me. It's been loads of fun.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this. I always appreciate any time that anyone does this, and especially when it's I know it's going to be a super good quality guest like yourself.
Thank you.
So we'll say goodbye to the guys. We'll stick around in the green room in the studio afterwards to debrief for a moment. But thank you everybody. Enjoy your Wednesday hump day evening. Go get your dinner and post pictures of it in the group if you want. Whatever.
See what you're eating.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you. See you soon, everyone.
See you later. Bye.